start this weekend as the franchise quarterback has been benched for the first time in his NFL career. Here's Hurts in the last 90 minutes, the second-round pick, speaking for the first time since he was named the starter.
Obviously, my role has changed this week, but the preparation and the hard work throughout the week has not. Always being ready to answer the phone when it rings, and it's ringing, so ready to answer. As a kid, you grow up and you dream of opportunities like this, so I'm just like I always am. My head's down, and I'm working, and I'm attacking it.
Just how confident are you that you can give this team that spark that they're looking for?
I'm just gonna go out there and play. Go out there and play.
How about with Carson, though? I mean, how is that dynamic working?
We're working together, communicating on things. He has 5 times as much experience than I have, so he's always a helping hand when a question comes up.
Hurts will always say the right things as he gets ready for the Saints. When Wentz was benched against the Packers, the Eagles were averaging 3.6 yards per play for the game with him at quarterback. They averaged 6.3 yards per play after making the switch to the rookie. Hurts was able to get the ball downfield, going 2 of 2 with a touchdown on passes thrown 25 or more yards downfield. That is key. Wentz had 2 such completions on 7 attempts since the start of Week 10. Hurts is averaging over 13 air yards per attempt, almost double that of Carson Wentz, who's averaging just 7.8 yards per attempt over the last 4 games. And one thing that didn't improve was the play of the offensive line, as Hurts has been sacked at a higher rate than Wentz, including 3 times on Sunday. For much more NFL Lives, Marcus Spears and NFL insider Dan Graziano joining us now in SportsCenter. Dan, what do the next 4 weeks mean now for the quarterback position here in Philly?
Well, they mean everything, and not just for the quarterback position, but for, Doug Peterson's future as coach there, Howie Roseman, GM. Like, there's a lot riding on what happens the rest of this season. The possibilities are numerous, but, Jalen Hurts could go in there and play well, which would mean that for the second time in his short career, Carson Wentz has been outperformed by his backup in a critical situation. That's certainly not anything he wants for his career. Hurts could flop. He could certainly struggle against the Saints defense this week. That's actually likely. And if that's the case, they may turn back to Carson Wentz, and they'll keep a close eye on what this experience did to Carson Wentz. Did it snap anything back to where they thought it would be all along? So they go into an offseason with a serious question about Wentz and the contract, very difficult contract to get out of. They need to gather some information about both of these quarterbacks over the next 4 weeks so they can figure out the long-term future at the position. Meanwhile, they're only a game and a half out of first place. Right now, they really just need to win a game.
Don't even bring that up. The division's long gone. We're getting past that. Let's bring in Marcus.
Just giving you the math.
I get that, Dan. Totally get that. But the way this team is playing, Marcus, the big question.
Hang in there.
The big question here in all of Philadelphia, what do you think of Carson Wentz's future in the NFL moving forward?
Oh, his future is bright. Listen, there'll be a number of teams, if it's not Philly, that'll look for Carson Wentz if that comes to that. But I don't think his future is over in Philly either. Barring Jalen Hurts doesn't come out here and light the world on fire. Jalen Hurts should have a legit shot and an opportunity to be the starter going forward. Carson Wentz played himself out of the position. And that's what I want people to understand. Like, this wasn't something that people in Philly were just waiting to see. The coaching staff or the front office, hey, let's find a time to get Jalen. I thought they exhausted every opportunity for Carson to get it turned around. So now Jalen Hurts is inserted. And if he plays well and earns the right to continue to have starts, then that's what it should be. That's the nature of the business. It's competition. When you're not playing up to what your standard should be or the team standard for you, they'll put in the guy that's backing you up to see if he can do a better job. So Carson is not done in the NFL by any means. He still can be fixed. He's still elite talent at the position from a physical standpoint. He'll be fine, but right now he needs to sit down.
Dan, I know you mentioned math. You mentioned that big contract. Wentz's 4-year, $128 million extension kicks in next year. Fellas, thank you. Head of PTI's bonus topic, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, now 1 and 2 in the MVP race. Both rank among the top quarterbacks in the league's major passing categories, including 1 and 2 in INT rate. Both have at least 30 touchdowns with fewer than 5 picks. Prior to this year, only 2 quarterbacks had done that through 12 games in NFL history. Tony and Mike discuss the race heading into the final stretch of the season.
All right, Wilbon, with 4 games left in the season, who is the NFL MVP right now, Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers?
Tony, you know, for some years, my favorite quarterback in the league is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's been a while. But he's got to be runner-up in this discussion, Tony. Mahomes, I mean, I am not crazy when it comes to just throwing stats out every show. But when you've lost 1 game on the season, Packers have lost 3. You've lost 1 game, and your splits, if you will, 31 touchdown passes and only 2 interceptions, as frequently as Patrick Mahomes throws it around the yard. He's got the highlight reel. He's got the numbers. He's got the record. He's got the respect of the awe of his peers. To me, it's got to be Mahomes.
So this is interesting because we'll go to that statistic for a second, that 31-2. So that's plus 29 for Mahomes. But Rodgers is 36-4, and that's plus 32. I mean, look, these are the 2 best quarterbacks out there. After 4 weeks, people talked about Russell Wilson having this locked up. After 6 weeks, maybe Josh Allen got his name in there.
Yeah.
After 8 weeks, and Pittsburgh was still undefeated, Ben Roethlisberger gets his name in there in the discussion.
Sure.
But Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football. I think Rodgers is the MVP this year only because Patrick Mahomes has more to work with. Just more to work with on his offense.
He has more to work with.
So, yeah.
And he's working with it, too. He's working it all right. That's it. We're done with our hot takes. Back to you.
Rolling left in trouble. Got to launch it. He does. Into the end zone. Jump ball. Is it caught? Oh, my goodness, it's caught. DeAndre Hopkins caught it. He caught it for a touchdown with 1 second left. I can't believe it.
Hoppy made a lot of impressive catches over the years. Where's this one going to rank right now?
This one is number 1. It was to win the game. No question.
Kevin, as we go around the NFL, don't you think that's still the play of the year?
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy. Still, what a difference 3 weeks makes, though, because after that Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins pass and catch against the Bills, it's been all downhill for the Cardinals. 3 straight losses to the Seahawks, the Patriots, and the Rams, and now Arizona is just 6-6. But Kyler Murray, he is focused. He's not paying any attention to that outside noise.
I don't listen to outsiders or anybody that, none of this affects me. I understand what's going to happen to, inside those lines, prepared for the worst. But I mean, I'm not tripping over it. With the good and the bad, I understand what's going to happen. So I'm not really too worried about it. Got 4 games left, and each game is crucial, and we know that. Everyone knows that. We understand. It's a 1-0 mentality, and we gotta win.
Staying in the NFC, the Bucs have lost 3 of 4, but still remain in the playoff mix as the 6th seed. Tom Brady and company hosting the Vikings, who are just behind them in the seedings. Don't forget the league expanded the playoffs this year to 7 teams, so the Vikings are holding on. And speaking of holding on, Gronk caught 6 of his 7 targets this past weekend.
December football is always huge, no matter what the situation is. You're always playing for something, I believe, big time. If we want to get to the playoffs, we got to win these games. We got to win this week. And it just starts with 1 game at a time, and it starts with 1 day at a time. You can't look ahead of yourself. We got to have good practices. We got to know what we're doing. We got to prepare well. And it's basically playoffs every single week right now.
Another good one involving the now 11-1 Pittsburgh Steelers this Sunday night as they go to Buffalo to face the 9-3 Bills. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, 38-year-old Ben Roethlisberger, 24-year-old Josh Allen for an 8:20 Eastern kick of Week 14. Listen.
What he's been able to do in his career, winning a couple Super Bowls, just the consistency that he's been able to do it on, the way that he plays, the style of the game that he plays, he's very hard to bring down. He's got tremendous arm talent, and he's been doing it for a long time, and he's had a lot of success, and I'd argue to say he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
They're a really good football team. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They've got an MVP caliber quarterback who's playing at that level. They've got some defenders that are just taking the ball away every single time the ball's thrown their way. And they're just a really good football team, and I think confidence has a lot to do with that.
Both the Bills and Steelers have a shot at clinching a playoff spot with a win in that game. Hello to NFL analyst Marcus Spears once again. And it's been, 48 hours since the Steelers lost. They're a bit at perfection with that surprising loss to Washington. So they're at Buffalo this weekend, Marcus. Which team do you expect to learn the most about come Sunday night?
Sage, conventional minds would tell you the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I firmly believe it's the Buffalo Bills. They had a magnificent performance against the 49ers. We left that game with Josh Allen reasserting himself into the MVP conversation again. The offense looks so good. And now you get a chance defensively against a defense where if you can go out and do that, not only have you proven to yourself, but everybody else that this is a trend that's going to carry on. Buffalo has had moments when they play Jekyll and Hyde, but when they are playing at their top level, they're as good as anybody, and they are the challenge to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you have to carry that more over because we know Pittsburgh is good. We know Mike Tomlin's going to have this team ready to play. We know what happened against the Washington football team as well with all of the drops that they had at the wide receiver and tight end spot. This will be a great challenge for the Buffalo Bills. And if they go through the Pittsburgh Steelers and have a lot of success and Josh Allen continues to perform like he has, then we start talking about them being a legit team that can go out and take out the Kansas City Chiefs and possibly be the representative in the Super Bowl.
Again, 24 years old in his third season. Not sure if he has done enough quite yet for us to say absolutely all in. We will see come Sunday. That's a big one.
Right.
How about Ravens Cowboys last night after being sidelined with COVID last week? Lamar Jackson, he was ready to return, and was he ever? He looked like his MVP self a little more, Marcus, after coming off the COVID Reserve 19 list. He ran for a 37-yard touchdown there, part of their 294 yards on the ground last night. That's the fourth most in franchise history. But they are on the outside looking in for a postseason spot right now, and the Raiders hold the tiebreaker because of the conference wins. So you see the schedule coming up for the Ravens with only 4 to go. What do you think, Marcus? What's it going to take for this team to make the playoffs?
Sage, I think they're going to have to win out. But when I say win out, I mean obviously finishing undefeated the rest of the way. But they can. I know they play the Browns again, and the Browns are looking really good. And we saw the performance that Baker Mayfield had. But this team understands this time of the year, and they're potentially getting back healthy. Lamar looked great, but a lot of people have looked great against the Dallas Cowboys defense. But let's not forget that this was the same team that ran for 260-plus yards on the Pittsburgh Steelers, had 4 turnovers in that game, and it still was a one-possession game with them with an opportunity to win. And I believe that the Ravens' offense has changed the narrative a bit, and yes, they do struggle through the air when it's a part of that game, but they can run with the best of them. And when Lamar needs to make throws, he can. So I think this team will creep into the playoffs. I think they have the potential to win out, Sage.
I mean, they are kind of that Jekyll and Hyde type team that you described. You don't quite know what you're going to see with them, but Lamar Jackson certainly seemed rejuvenated coming back last night. Marcus Spears, thank you, sir.